Hey, welcome back to another episode of Yogi's Garage. I'm Yogi, and yes, we are back with Project Pepper, my 2002 Porsche 911 Carrera. I've been rebuilding the engine from scratch. For those of you visiting for the first time, welcome. Here's what's going on. I sent my engine crankcase to have it rebored to a 4-liter. I've also purchased forged components so I can really soup this thing up. And I've sent my cylinder heads out to have them redecked for future installation. So what's been going on for the past few weeks, because I haven't dropped a video. Well, technically I have, but it wasn't a Porsche video. If you haven't seen it, I recently dropped a holiday video where I go over some of the tools that I use. Not all the tools, but some of the tools that I use on a daily basis, and ones that I would recommend you buy, ones that you would shortlist, as well as others that you should just avoid altogether. So be sure to check out that video. I'll leave a link up here in the window and you can click it to get caught up, but I think it's worth a watch, especially for your loved ones who have no idea what to get you for Christmas. This may actually point them in the right direction. All right, we left off where I was getting ready to install the IMS solution into this car. For those two people out there that don't know what an IMS is and what happens to this particular model here, the IMS stands for an intermediate shaft, and it basically runs the length of the engine, and it keeps both cylinder heads in time based on the position of the crank. Kind of technical, I know, but the point is those things can fail, and there was a lot of press overhype around that. But the point is it needs to be serviced, and why not service it one more time forever, never have to deal with it again. So that's what I'm gonna do, is I'm gonna show you how to install the IMS Solutions kit from Flat Six Innovations. And then after we're done and I bring you back here, we're going to talk about the surprises that I have in store for this engine. One of them in particular is the cylinder heads that I mentioned. I want to show you what they look like. So with that, let's get started. IMS Solution, let's get it installed, and I'll see you on the other side.
Yeah, you don't want any metal shavings anywhere near your engine. I'm about to drill a hole that's going to do just that.
Now this flange is supposed to hold or keep the dirt out, but the flange is not installed. So I think it's probably better if I just cover it up with masking tape. That's the EPS POS that I'm getting out. See, there's plenty of room on either side. That's what they were looking for, is ample room. I think that's pretty good. All right, I'm not entirely sure what happened to the rest of my video footage here, but if I had it, it would be of me cursing up a storm because the EPS IMS bearing solution that the previous owner used, that manufacturer did not use the same thread pitch as what the OEM IMS bearing used. So the tool that Ellen Engineering rented me to remove the bearing became useless because I couldn't even mount it to that post. The next segment is of me coming up with the solution of what needed to be done, but it took a lot of brainstorming, if you will, to come up with something that's going to work. Okay, I think I got a plan going forward here. I've determined that the thread pitch there is not standard. It's metric, and it's 125 is the thread pitch. And unfortunately, the adapter that they gave me supports a thread pitch of 1. And on the other end, that is a 16 standard, believe it or not. This thread pitch here is at 3/8 16P. So I have to get a bolt that fits that. I mean, I'm gonna have to tap something. Here's my plan. Let me just tell you that. Here's my plan. So I went to a stock metal place near me called Metal Supermarket or something, and I got a hex solid piece here, similar, a little bit bigger than what they provided. And what I plan on doing is I'm gonna tap that with the proper thread pitch for that IMS. And then on the other end, I'll tap it again with the 16G thread pitch as well. And then I'll have my own little adapter. And then I'll get...
Boom.
Don't touch it. You'll cook yourself.
Where did it go?
All right, I've got it cut. I'll have to grind down the bottom there or the top, and I'll just for now I'm just going to tap into this side and prove my theory out. All right, the one I'm going to do first is the 10125, and that's right here. The drill bit size is 8.8 millimeters. Well, this is America, man, and I don't have metric drill bits. I have metric tools, but not metric drill bits. So let me figure out what that is. All right, just smoothing off the tops here to make them more flat for a proper insertion. Hello. Yeah, that's better. All right, I'm gonna use a much smaller drill bit to start my pilot so I can keep it in center. I should have done that to begin with, but I'm glad I failed because then I realized that the drill bit was slightly too big. I did get the right drill bit though. And this is it right here. It's an 1130 seconds. That's about as close as you can get. Yeah, so 1130 seconds equals 8.731 millimeters. And that's what we're supposed to use for an M10 125 thread pitch. 8.8 is the size. So I think I've got the right one. Let's do it. All right, there's my center. And I'm gonna use my punch right here in the middle. And then this tiny little 330 seconds pilot hole will keep me centered. All right, it's coming along. It's not perfect, it's not straight, but it doesn't have to be. I just needed to get it threaded on. I had to use several drill bits. The hardened steel ones just don't cut very fast. And these ones from Milwaukee, I think they're Cobalt or something. They're cut really fast and they're hard to use once the hole is tapped. It'll rip your arm off. So it was a combination of both. I'm gonna finish tapping this and let's see if it fits. All right, it's threaded. You can see that, can you? There you go. Can you see how threaded that is? Let's see if it'll go on the bearing. Please work. Yeah, there it goes. All right, and boom, it's in there. And it's threaded. I had to use some vice grips to hold the threads down because the bearing wants to spin. But it's on there, and it should be enough to pull that bearing out once I tap the other end. All right.
Okay. So Yogi, you want to explain what's happening here?
Sure. I am tapping the 3/8 side that goes to the IMS tool. As I've mentioned, the tool that comes with, or that you can rent from LN Engineering, oh, this is nice, is threaded for the OEM, the original IMS, not an aftermarket. And the aftermarket from EPS is a 10 millimeter 125 thread pitch, blah, 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 didn't match. So I'm making my own adapter so I can get past this. So this side here that I'm doing is the end that will connect to their part. Mm-hmm. And their part is this. So basically I made another one.
Cool.
Yeah. One-time use, so I'm not all, that concerned about center, but the third time I got it right in the middle. Look at that.
It looks pretty dead center.
I'm gonna tell you, and also get a shot of those Milwaukee drill bits, the brass looking ones. Those right there cut through this cold rolled steel like it was butter. Those hardened ones that are still in the pack there, it's like you're chipping away with a butter knife. It's ridiculous how slow it is. The only catch with that is that you can't tap with a smaller one and then come in with a larger one because it's so bitey it'll rip your arms off. So you gotta be careful with that. I've learned that today.
Well, you seem to have two arms still.
Yeah, I sure do. And all I'm doing here is gotta finish this up. Now, quarter turn.
So you're making your own threads.
Yep, and I think I've reached the bottom. Yep, okay. Yeah, okay.
So when you pull that out, you should be able to get that bolt in, or this little
Once I clean it out, yeah.
this little tool in. How do you clean it out?
Carb cleaner, baby.
Carb cleaner for everything.
That's right.
You're like, do you remember, what was it, my big fat Greek wedding and how the
Windex.
dad, right?
Windex takes care of everything.
Except you are
Oh,
carb
those are
cleaner.
Nice. Those are nice threads. Okay.
Wait, let me
I
look.
don't think
Let
it's
me
deep
look.
enough. I'm gonna have to go further.
Oh, very pretty.
I am semi-optimistic that this is gonna work. So the threaded stud went right on there. I didn't have to buy another one. The next thing you're supposed to do is thread this guy on right here. So let's do that. Oof. Okay. And then this to help brace it. And then the washer and the nut. In case you're wondering whether or not you should use their tool from LN Engineering, I would strongly advise it because making this stuff machined properly, unlike mine, will save you a lot of stress. And it's a rental, man. You don't have to worry about it after that. My trusty TEKTON. Yep. And then that one there, 13, excuse me. And I already feel the bearing coming out. Got it. Yeah. Whew. And there's that stupid bearing. You see, I got the towel there to catch the oil. All right, let's take this off, see what it looks like. That's the rear right there. And this is the bearing. It's a roller bearing style. Nothing too fancy. The weird thing is that it didn't have a snap ring. But this is not, according to Jake Raby and the experts out there, this is not a solution. This is just a stopgap. So that's what it is. But neat. All right. Yeah, so this worked. I had to make my own, as you saw, and it worked. It's not straight. It's not perfect, but it didn't need to be. It's just to pull the bearing out. Look at some of the scorch marks on there. And in fact, I can rub my finger and feel little notches in there. Not good. So I'm glad I got this piece of crap out of there. And now I can get back on track and get that IMS in there. The IMS shaft all the way down there. All right. Oil's not too dirty in here. But I'm going to be putting a cap in there that's going to block off any oil getting in there from now on. And just for lubrication on the bearing.
All right, I'm about to start the installation process, but before I do, I wanted to show you what Ellen Engineering provided and will provide you if you decide to rent their kit. So like you just saw a moment ago, there is the Pro Tool kit, which has the threaded extractor unit, timing, cams, locking, and I believe that is for the bearing itself. And then they also offer a supplemental toolkit, which I'm also going to use. And this is going to help me insert the plug on the back. And they also include a few other tools in there that I'll be sure to show off as soon as I need to use it. But I wanted to show you that because it's made it really easy. I'm almost certain that this thing would have been completed by now if I didn't run into a thread issue or a thread mismatch issue. Now that I'm past that, I'm going to pick up where I left off, back to cleaning this thing again, and then we're going to get that plug in. Let's do it. Hi, blue paint. So much better. Okay, that was pretty easy to do. You saw that I used the supplemental tool, and there's a reason for that because it's designed to fit into that lower insert there, and you use dead blow, and you'll know when it's reached the bottom because when you hammer at it, it'll sound different. But yeah, so now that's plugged up permanently. We can continue with the installation now. So awesome. Good, right there. I'm gonna put that snap ring on next. That thing's dirty. Be sure to clean your parts, folks. Don't just expect it to be clean out of the box. All right. Damn. Take your time. The only person rushing is you. That's the sweet snap you want to hear. Let's take a look. All right, looking good. Snap ring and shim in place. Now we're ready to put the flange on. Put a little Loctite on this thing. All right, we're gonna thread this in. Good. It doesn't look like it needs to be ugga-dugga on there, so I'm not gonna do that. Okay, I'm gonna do one more cleaning before we go any further. Last time I will see this IMS. Looks good. Gonna let that sit for one moment while I lube up the IMS first.
Woo, stop the presses, man. As you saw in those pictures of the video, I'm not even sure how I'm going to show you this, but I have to stop. There is a problem. The bores do not line up between the crankcase halves. It's especially noticeable here. It was very raised, and basically the IMS would not go in without brute force, and even then it wouldn't go in because it was hitting the metal. It was metal on metal. It was such an offset that I can feel the tiniest bit of a divot here as I'm trying to get it in. So I had to stop and figure out what was going on. And initially I thought it was an issue with the crankcase halves maybe not matching. I mean, it's possible that I could get them back and they weren't a matching set. So I went down that rabbit hole and it ended up not being the case, thank goodness, because that's a bigger hassle than you think. You would think, well, great, I get a new case, but you got to source a case first and then it's got to go through the whole process, and that could delay the project even more than what it's delayed right now. So it's been about 2.5 weeks, maybe 3, since I cut that last part of the video. So here we are a few weeks later, and I'm gonna run through some time lapse here so you can see that yes, I indeed took the crankcase halves apart and found the issue. The issue was, drum roll please, I forgot the dowels. The alignment dowels in here, there's 3 of them, are necessary to get everything to line up. I don't even know how I did that. So I had to pull the whole thing off and do bank 2 pistons all over again. But hey, I chalked it up as, you know, a little extra credit. I get to learn how to do it and do it more efficiently, which I did. I also ran into a small possible disaster in the process. I tried to put in one of the wrist pins without using the outside sleeve as part of the wrist pin tool, and it didn't line up right, and I had to go in there with my hands and try to get it all lined up. But I got it. I didn't panic. We got it in there. All 3 pistons are in there, and I'm ready to put the IMS back in. So where I left it was here, attaching this connector and then putting this on the IMS itself. This is the IMS flange. It's got the connector and everything. So let's go ahead and do that. Finish up this project, wrap up the video, and get ready for the cylinder head installation. Let's do it. Don't want anything to interfere. All right, and there, that's in. We're going to go ahead and run these bolts in. Okay. Okay, we're going to get the center nut on, and then we'll torque everything up. It's 11 millimeter. Man, how the heck? I mean, how the hell are we supposed to torque that? Yeah, once again, my handy offset wrench came to the rescue. It gave me enough bite to hold it while I get the nut on there, but I don't know how I'm gonna torque it. There, that's finger tight now. So let me torque these 2 down, and then I'll have to figure out that. 10 Newton meters. Okay, so I'm gonna have to stop here. I got the outside flange bolts torqued into place, but they made this thing really narrow. I did an inside diameter measurement. Yeah, it came out as 15.9. And this particular one I have here is 18 wide. So it's about 3 millimeters too wide to get in there.
So I'm not about to grind down my TEKTON to get in there. So I bought a cheap Amazon set to see if I can get in there, but I can't. I don't have any sockets either that are thin enough for that. I know that the kit that they sent me at the time was supposed to have that, but I had to send it back because of the delay. You know, I may be able to grind this down too to get in there. It's not a big torque number, but it's got to be done.
Yogi,
That's my name.
what you doing?
Grinding down a really cheap tool here because I need to tighten up the IMS center nut, and all my tools are too wide. I think any tool designed is too wide. I'm not sure what they were thinking when they designed that opening, but a standard tool can't go in there. So I'm gonna grind some of this stuff off.
Show us.
Kind of getting the lumpy parts off of it too. This is my rough file. All right, let's see. It's my custom tool. Only $999.99.
Wow. I seem to say that a lot on this project because what can go wrong will go wrong in this car. And yeah, so you saw that, you miss one simple step and it can really throw off the entire project. And something as minor as you would think as alignment dowels are not minor because they're there for a reason. So as you saw, I had to take this thing down to the half shell again and redo it. It's fine. I got to do it again. I'm more confident installing the pistons. I'm also a little bit better at troubleshooting in case you run into any problems with that, which I did, and I was able to resolve the issue. So installing the IMS solution is pretty straightforward, but it's not without its hiccups. And as you saw near the end, the biggest hiccup is that center bolt. In my opinion, that nut should be easily accessible and not require a special tool or a thin-walled socket that needs to be ground down. A slight adjustment in the bore size there would allow a standard socket to get in there to get at that nut. So whatever the reason is, it is what it is. It made it more difficult, but that was after I had to go in there and cut out some more of the engine to make sure that that little blue adapter there has enough clearance for the next part that has to connect to the oil filter. So that's in a future episode. I don't want to do the oil filter just now or the adapter. I want to finish up the engine block and get the cylinder heads on and of course get the seals on. But I'm not going to do any of that until I make sure that everything seals up right with this IMS, because if I have to take it apart, I got to take it apart. And I don't want to have to undo crank seals or anything else once they're in place. So what's next? Cylinder heads. Yes, we're going to finally put the cylinder heads on this engine. But I want to show you something first. Check it out. So let me give you a little bit of a story on this one. So the cylinder heads I've kind of been on the fence regarding having them completely redone. In other words, redecked, rebuilt. But I kept having this nagging issue with what would happen if I didn't, right? It may not be catastrophic. The deck may not seal properly and I may have an exhaust leak, I may have intermix. But that, I kept playing in my head, why would I want to have that complication when I can resolve the issue before putting the engine back in there? So I bit the bullet and I sent off my cylinder heads to Hoffman. And people out there who are watching this video are nodding their heads going, yes, Hoffman, he's awesome. He is. Take a look at how I got these from Hoffman. First of all, counting the Thanksgiving break, it was a total turnaround time of 2.5 weeks. I'm thinking about 3 total. but you're also counting the Thanksgiving break. So I had these back in my possession in less than a month, and they look amazing. The deck surfaces alone are the price of admission for these, because these were not cheap to service. I'm not going to tell you how much they cost, because the prices will vary depending on what kind of service you need, but I got the basic service on this without too much extra add-ons. I had a few other things that I added on. For example, the exhaust threads on the head were stripped out, and the previous machinist poorly repaired the busted threads with a time cert. Here's a picture of what it looked like from Hoffman when he got it. And by the way, I had pictures of my cylinder head on his workbench before I was even notified by UPS that it was already delivered to his shop. So that's how quick this guy works. He's a great guy to deal with. Be sure to hit me up, DM me, and we can talk about it, and I can give you some more feedback on my whole experience with doing this. But basically, my entire valve train has been reconditioned. The lifter carrier's been reconditioned. The decks have been reconditioned. Everything's been checked for pressure and warpage, and everything checked out. So I'm really excited. It was a big spend, but hey, when you're dealing with a Porsche engine, and I keep saying this to not only myself, but my audience, because I have to reassure somebody that I know what I'm doing, these are not cheap engines to work on. I knew that, but I didn't quite know the extent of how expensive they are until you tear one down. So when I do this engine again, and I'm going to do another 996 engine probably in the near future, I may not tear it all the way down to this level if I don't have to. I needed to. This is the way I process information. I got to tear it all down and then put it all back together, and I know how every single thing on this engine works, at least to some fundamental level. So let's work on the cylinder heads in the next video. We'll get this thing in time, and we're so close to getting this engine started. But this is where I'm gonna end it. So between now and the next video, I hope it's only a week. It should only be a week. Let's hope. And we'll see you in the next episode of Yogi's Garage.
Yo, microphone check, make it a microphone check. Give it a microphone, make it a microphone dead. Don't step to me, newbie, I could truly be moody. I could have played the fucking Grinch in the movies. I've been a part-time shadow cat, part-time. That is not a guy that I would ever want to try to battle rap.